but we'll see. Anyway, where are we? We're filling up. So I think we might make a bit of a start. I guess the first kind of parish announcement is that Jim Crowley is riding in the 740 at Lingfield and therefore can't do live mounted on a horse, which obviously is very sad. But he is going to join us from the weighing room with his iPhone as soon as he possibly can. So we should have found out if he had any chance of winning. Then we could have all piled in and congratulated him. But so that's the first parish announcement. At the end, there'll be questions. So do please submit questions. They're going to be buzzed through to me and I'll reappear at sort of 8:15. I won't ask them if I think they've sort of been answered in the course of the conversation afterwards, or we tend to go around slightly in circles. But lots and lots of questions would be absolutely great. Introducing the panel, I don't know where they are to you, but firstly, hi, Cheska. Cheska's in the middle of half term on the bank holiday. So if everybody... we appreciate the effort you've done to come to this. Thanks so much, Jessica. And then over here, I've got Lee Mottershead from the Racing Post. Lee's joined us from almost Tattenham Corner, you said, Lee. That's very good, rather than the motel.
Almost. 10-minute drive away. 10-minute drive away.
That's nice. Well, actually, I do want you guys to talk about you said the resurgence of the yards in Epsom, because we were just chatting earlier before we kind of went live that there's a very good Alistair Down video clip somewhere about the decline of Epsom training yards and the Derby and stuff, and it's this sounds all rather good. And then just here, Charlie Hills, who, talking about the word resurgent, trained a resurgent racing brakes rider to come a really good fourth at Goodwood on Friday, which was fantastic. So guys, thank you very much for doing this. Big shout out to JM Finn for kindly sponsoring this Zoom, along with the others that we've done. Simon Tufnell and your gang, I hope you're watching. Hi to all you guys. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot, and I hope you are getting as much enjoyment out of it. And also the Old Gold Racing team, particularly Ellie, who is sitting at home twiddling all the dials and pulling the levers and making sure that this happens. So thank you very, very much indeed, Ellie. A little bit of a plug for our next Zoom, which is again sponsored by JM Finn, and in a couple of weeks' time, Tuesday the 11th of June, it's the Royal Ascot Zoom. So this time we've got Jessica and Charlie Fellows, Tom Clover and Jane Mangan to give you lots of hot tips, winners and inside thoughts and all that kind of stuff. There'll be an email sent out, but you'll also find it in the Old Gold Racing app. And also, there's still a couple of spaces. I mean, I think it's literally a couple, so you need to get on it. To see Charlie Hills's yard on Thursday, the 6th of June. I don't know if that involves breakfast in the pub or not. I haven't looked at the itinerary, but it's normally a good one. So if you are, I think I might go along with that actually. Thursday, the 6th of June, to come and see Charlie and come and see Racing Brakes Rider, come and see Jersey Rocks and anything else that we might be sort of interested in. That would be very good. And now, drum roll, I get to disappear, which is marvellous, and go and iron my shirts and watch while this is going on, obviously. And maybe when I come back, I have this very neat row of shirts behind me. I should have thought I'd done that before. But guys, listen, thank you very much for doing this. Over to you, Cheska.
I love the idea of you multitasking, Ed, ironing your shirts whilst watching us. I mean, why not even? But I think we need to treat this Zoom session as like a workshop, don't we? Because the Derby this year seems like such a mystery. And I think we need to set some people at home some homework, because I think we have a very knowledgeable group of people that Zoom in to listen to our chats. And I think instead of a Q&A at the end of the session, we should do everyone submit their choice and give their reasons, because you can kind of do that for a lot of horses in this year's Derby. I've tried to kind of put them in groups of, yeah, definite chance, pretty unlikely, and could be anything. And I've kind of bunched them in those three groups. Be interesting to see how Charlie and Lee see it this year. But I want to know from people at home who they think is going to win and a good reason behind it. I'll start with you, Lee. What do you make of this year's Derby and really its standing in the racing calendar on the whole?
I think it's a fascinating race, Jessica. I think it's a race that is very strange in the sense that we've had as a horse dominating the market, a colt who was completely turned over in the 2000 Guineas. Face value, he ran an appalling race, and yet he has held on to favouritism, albeit there have been unusual circumstances. We know what happened to poor Hiddenlaw at Chester. Charlie Appleby had another fancy contender who won the trial at Sandown, hasn't got there. But it's still surprising in many ways that City of Troy has held on to favouritism. We lost the Dante winner, who was so impressive economics. He might have gone there as well. And to an extent, it's felt like a race that has fallen apart, allowing City of Troy to retain favouritism. But in recent days, and certainly today, as the weather has seemed to become more of a factor, the market's changing shape a little bit, and we've got horses now challenging him for favouritism. His stable companion Los Angeles, Ancient Wisdom, the Godolphin horse who loves soft ground. So I think it's a different sort of derby, a fascinating derby. And for all that people will say, well, economics isn't running in the race, and if others are missing it as well, does that challenge the derby supremacy? I don't think that's the case. I think there are circumstances for all the horses that aren't there. And for me, the derby still retains its preeminence in flat racing. The commercial imperatives of breeding have maybe challenged it to an extent, but the derby is still the thing that if you're the two superpowers, Godolphin or Coolmore, you really want to win.
And from a trainer's perspective, Charlie, is that still very much the case?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a race I certainly want to win. It's very hard to get a horse to the race now. You know, the way a lot of the horses are bred, that the sales is a lot more sort of attention on speed. So it's very hard to get a horse that will stay a mile and a half. But you know, it, as Lee said, it looks a very, very open race this year. A lot of the big contenders have, you know, fallen away by the wayside, and you know, you can say an argument for a lot of the horses in the race.
That's an interesting point you make on the breeding, because I think it was a few weeks ago before, well, kind of around Chester time, just as a lot of the trials were unfolding, that you looked at the market and it was Ballydoyle, Godolphin, Godolphin, and they were very much the dominant stables. But actually, it's not surprising, really, is it? Because they're the ones that are breeding horses to stay this distance, whereas everybody else is nervous of breeding mile-and-a-half horses because they think they won't be commercial at the sales. So I suppose it's quite good that we've got the likes of Ambiente Friendly in there just to kind of mix things up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Roger Teal, he's got a horse that's got a great chance. You know, trainer in Lambourne. Obviously ran a great race in France. No, he's certainly got a big shout too.
Yeah, Dancing Gemini. He's one that I was only had a half an hour to spin through the field just now, before we started doing the Zoom, and he's fascinating because he ran a really good race in this to come second in the French 2000 Guineas. Yet he's bred to stay, isn't he?
It looks that way, absolutely. It does, and he should like the ground as well. So, you know, it's just you need a lot of luck round Epsom, don't you? Obviously, draw comes into play as well. You need a good trip round and just things to go right for you, just to fall into your place.
So if we're trying to select the winner as a type, like form's one thing, but I feel like this year this one's beaten that one, who's beaten that one, who's come last to that one, and it's all a bit of a muchness. But when you're looking at a horse or a horse's temperament or characteristics or pedigree, what's the ideal Derby horse?
I love watching them, you know, walk that last sort of 2 furlongs down to the start. You can just see how the occasions got to a few of the horses. You see some sweat up, you see some taking it really nice and laid back. I always feel that gives you a good idea how, you know, how they're taking the whole day in the proceedings. So I always like to sort of wait, really be patient and just wait for that moment to see how they're behaving at the start.
And your dad came pretty close, didn't he? Was it second twice?
I think it knows second 4 times.
Second 4 times, really?
I think it's Rheingold, Glacial Storm, Blue Stag, and
Hawaiian Sound.
Yeah, wow. I think he always tells me that the combined distances they all got beat wouldn't be the length of a lorry.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, a couple got short-headed, I think.
No way. So is that something you want to put right?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, I haven't had many chances. I've only had one runner called Sonny Liston in the race, so I need to certainly better that. But like I say, it's just hard to get hold of those horses to train, you know. And when you do, you know, there's so many different ways you can get to, you know, so many different preparations you can do to get to the race. But it's certainly, yeah, something I want to, a race I certainly need to be involved in more in the future.
But do you
I think
think
that point, sorry, Jess, I was gonna say that point that Charlie makes about how hard it is to get a Derby horse. I mean, you can see that this year with Ambiente Friendly. I mean, James Fanshawe has been a leading trainer for decades now. But you have to go back to Environment Friend in 1991 to find his one and only runner in the Derby. You know, it's taken him 33 years to find another one, which shows you it is a really difficult job to find those horses.
would you not say though, potentially compared to, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, in a way, there's more of a chance of buying a Derby type horse because the more stoutly bred horses tend to go cheaper at the sales. I mean, maybe they haven't got the quality of the type of horse that they're producing at Coolmore or Godolphin, but you can pick up the son of Nathaniel or
Yeah,
Golden Horn
I think
or something like that cheaper.
it all depends on your owners, doesn't it? I mean, there's probably less patient owners around than there were, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Everyone wants to, you know, be quick and get your quick results. You know, there seems to be, you know, there's a lot of people are probably not as patient as what they used to be.
So does that suggest that people don't really want to win the Derby so much as they used to, or they can't afford to wait that long?
Well, you know, it is expensive, isn't it, to have horses in training? I mean, you know, you have to be patient as through their 2-year-old career most of the time. And, you know, you go to the sales and there's all these speed stallions there now, aren't there? You go to the breeze ups and everyone's all very much focused on speed more than it probably was, you know, like I say, 10, 15 years ago.
And that's the case in so many jurisdictions. Cheska, you know Australia, you know, better than any of us in the room. And you know, you get to the Melbourne Cup Carnival, and every year when you get the VRC Derby, the Victoria Derby, there's always debate in Australian racing about should the Derby distance be reduced from 1 mile, 4.5 furlongs to 1.25 miles. You know, the French Derby was reduced from 1.5 miles to 1 mile, 2.5. And there are some people that would want the same to happen over here. Hopefully it never will do. But yet you also have jurisdictions like Japan that really covet stamina. We had their derby on Saturday, and over there it is all about stamina. That's what breeders and owners want. But in our part of the world, it has moved much more towards speed, which in many ways is really regrettable.
Yes, exactly. I feel like we're slightly following Australia down the path, aren't we? Because Australians, they get to the Melbourne Cup every year and they go, oh, wish we had a horse to run in the Melbourne Cup. Yet they invest and focus on 2-year-olds and speed. So it's not surprising that they don't have them. They've had to look elsewhere for them. So I hope we don't kind of go down that same slippery slope. But I do still think it's a race that a lot of people want to win. And I love the fact that it is such a unique test for the thoroughbred. The fact that they're climbing, they're turning, they're dealing with cambers. There's a lot to contend with for the horses on the day. I really want to just get stuck into a preview of the race. I feel like we should be doing a lot of history and experiences and all of that, but I want to know who everyone thinks will win and have a bit of a debate about it. I suppose going through starting from the top of the market, can either of you forgive City of Troy for that run in Newmarket? Lee?
Yes, I can, on the basis that this time last year, if we were having this same preview, we'd have been saying, could we forgive August Rodin for his terrible run in the 2000
one
Guineas?
example, and then we're attributing it to the next one.
This is Aidan's new modus operandi. They run terrible in the Guineas and then win the Derby. No, I think if you watch the 2000 Guineas, and there was almost nothing to be positive about in the horse's performance. He didn't impress people in the paddock. I think you were the same, Jessica, weren't you? You weren't blown away by what you saw in the paddock. He was last to load, and yet Aidan has used what happened in the stalls as a reason to try and explain the horse's performance, talking about heart rate. The heart rate got very high, and therefore that impacted how he ran. He said that maybe he trained him too easy going into the race. He thought it was a god, and therefore it wasn't hard enough on him.
So you're buying into all these excuses. You're giving him
no, I'm not buying into them, Jessica. No, let's not get carried away. I'm not buying into them, but I still think, all horses are allowed one bad run. And if for whatever reason he just underperformed on the day, and if they get him back to the horse that he was as a juvenile, he has a huge chance. But it's a big if, isn't it? If you're backing City of Troy, you're putting a lot of trust in the trainer and a lot of trust in the fact that for whatever reason, City of Troy had an off day but has trained on.
Yeah, I think with August Rodin, we could make excuses, though, couldn't we? There were reasons for the poor showing, whereas with City of Troy, you're left kind of scratching your head a little bit, especially based on what he did at 2.
What can I say to the two of you, because you're both horsey people? A big debate seems to have sparked up about City of Troy's height.
Oh, God.
And how big he is. Aidan had this press day at Ballydor. I wasn't there, but he actually stood into the horse to try and convince people he was bigger than everyone seems to think he is. Is it any sort of factor?
I thought he looked slightly small in the Dewhurst, but for the Guineas, I thought he'd grown a bit through the winter. I didn't think he looked like a small horse. I thought he filled out. I actually thought he looked pretty good compared to what he looked like in Dewhurst. But I thought he was in the parade ring. He was walking around there very relaxed, wasn't he?
He was very relaxed. He's got a lovely loose gait on him.
Absolutely.
But the other thing I would say,
they had him in the pre-parade ring a long time before the race. He was like the first in the pre-parade ring. He walked around there lovely, so I couldn't really put a negative mark on him.
I remember thinking,
I didn't think he looked a big horse, but he's got plenty of length to him.
Yeah, I remember not being impressed by him in the Dewhurst. I remember thinking I was going to see an impressive looking creature and thinking, and almost that day I was going to, tip against him because he didn't impress me that much. Yeah. And then he went and won, and I was like, okay, right, well, clearly he's just very talented and he's neat and he's well put together and he's well balanced and all the rest of it. So yeah. I didn't want to be negative about him when it came to the Guineas because maybe that's just how he is. But I felt he was a little bit small, but more than that, I felt he was lacking middle. Like he just didn't have a huge amount of girth room, and he didn't have a huge amount of kind of hind quarter and shoulder and all the rest of him. And especially when you put him up against some of the others in the field, you were like, oh, he just looks a little bit feminine, a little bit 2-year-old-y still. So that was negative. And I think I possibly started the whole height debate because I said, oh, Aidan, when you look at him compared to the others in the field, he doesn't look that big. And he went, well, when you stand into him, he's actually 16'1". And I think you could see on my face, I was like, really?
Yeah, right.
But then I like the very unscientific method of kind of putting the chin to the withers and, yep, here we are.
Does it make any difference how big he is, though? I mean, Galileo wasn't a big horse, was he?
No, definitely not. No, but I think...
Really?
And weirdly, I think they say Sadler's Wells wasn't very big, Northern Dancer wasn't very big, all of this. So no, it doesn't matter. But I think when it comes to potential stallion value and all of that, how people love to kind of find a negative, then if they could say, oh, well, he was only...
But actually for the Derby, you probably don't want too big a horse. You need an agile, well-balanced horse to go down those hills and round those bends, don't you?
Well, isn't that one of the reasons why William Haggis's family was so reluctant to run economics? He just didn't think that physically he was necessarily the right other factors too, but physically he didn't think he was the right sort of horse for Epsom.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and he's a big, strong horse as well, and possibly the pedigree.
King of Steel went round there okay last year, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh my God. King of Steel, I looked at in the paddock and I was like, no way. And even my sound technician at ITV was like, I've had a bet on King of Steel. I was like, you're mad. No chance. It's a great big ungainly looking monster, but actually he handled it really well. And I suppose what was he called, the one that Adam Kirby won on? mental blank.
Oh, the Godolphin, a day off
Yeah,
Yeah, he was quite big too.
was, yeah, big muscular brute.
Yeah, and he came from stall 1 and went up the inside, all the things that you weren't really meant to do either. So
Yeah.
it's a head scratcher, isn't it? Charlie, you forgiving City of Troy?
well, I think it's very hard to. I mean, I like the look of Los Angeles, really. Los Angeles looks, you know, a very good 2-year-old. You won a Group 1, didn't you? Roman, of course, is going to stay well. Likes the ground. What's not like to like, isn't it?
Yeah, but so you touched on this at the beginning, the fact that he'd been backed, which he has. The fact that he's been backed, does that make you less that has to make you less confident about the favourite, right? Because they're coming from the same stable.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yep, I agree. He's done nothing wrong at all, has he, Los Angeles?
No, he's done nothing wrong. It's a Group 1 win on really horrible ground in France last back end. I wasn't blown away by him at Leopardstown in the trial last time. He took a long time to get on top. He didn't have any. There was no brilliance about him, but maybe this year's Derby won't require a winner with brilliance. It's interesting that point you made, Cheska, about would the move on him in the market today challenge your confidence in City of Troy? I thought it was interesting that Coolmore put out a tweet today with the latest example of City of Troy working, as if to say, no, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He's good. He's good. I wonder if the ground's a factor too. You know, I live, you know, just down the road from the track. It's 10 minutes to Tatnam Corner from here, and we've had a fair bit of rain. You know, the ground was soft, good to soft in places at the start of today. It's changed to soft all round on the Derby course. And Andrew Cooper, the clerk of the course, he posted the latest ground report to the Weatherby system today. And this afternoon, he said Wednesday expected to be predominantly dry with a 20% chance of an afternoon shower. Thursday has the potential to see further showers, some of which could be heavy. So maybe people who are backing Los Angeles and Ancient Wisdom are thinking that it's going to be an unusually testing ground derby, because we very rarely have derbies run on testing ground. We get Oaks run on testing ground, but seldom derbies.
How does that work? The day before?
Yeah, I mean, you often find that they'll water the track in advance of the Oaks, knowing that the ground can dry out from Thursday to Friday quite rapidly at Epsom. But if you think about how you often see Oaks, don't you, where the field turn for home and come stand side. We've seen that a lot. I don't think there's any visual evidence, certainly for the time when the Derby's been filmed, of the Derby field coming stand side at the home straight. Now, one factor is they take the rail down, the forced running rail, after the Friday, so you'd have further to go to get across, but that doesn't stop them at the spring meeting or other times of the year. But they're very rare for a derby to run on soft ground. I remember when Tinoso won under Leicester, that was a soft ground derby, but they didn't come stand side. But maybe this will be the year. Wouldn't be aesthetically pleasing though.
Wouldn't.
No, I don't like to come across stand side. I think visually is a better race when they say far side.
Okay. What is aesthetically pleasing is the fact that we have Jim Crowley joining us from the Jockey's room. How'd you get on, Jim? Can you hear us? Maybe not. No, he looks frozen, doesn't he? Lee, just quickly, did you grow up there, or have you since moved to 10 minutes from?
Yeah, no. I grew up in Blackburn, Lancashire, which is a long way from Epsom. But no, we've been down here for about 4 years now, Jessica. It's a great part of the world. So we live in Ashstead, which is, you know, the next door town village, 10 minutes away. I drive up the home straight, in effect, 3 or 4 times a week, because my gym is on Tatnam Corner. So yeah, so upper body on Sunday. In fact, Sunday afternoon we went for a walk around the Downs with a Mr. Whippy. So I get there quite a lot. It's a fantastic place. It's a very therapeutic thing in the evening to finish work and then go for a half-hour walk around the racecourse.
It is. I love Epsom. I don't know what it is about it, but just its positioning and its time in the year and just the feeling. There's something kind of that gets under your skin about it. I love it. Do we have Jim? Do we not have Jim?
I'm here.
Oh, hello. We do. Sounds very echoey. you in? Where are you? Oh no, gone.
Riding in the 740 at Lingfield.
Yeah, how was it? How'd you get on?
I've been ahead, so not great.
Oh, that's annoying. Sorry about that. Very good of you to still join us.
That's all right.
Thank you. You're probably wanting to, have you got another ride, or are you wanting to get home, or what are you up to?
No, that's me done.
Okay, well, it's very good of you to join us from there.
Sorry, I think the Wi-Fi at Lingfield's not great.
I know, that's why I'm thinking before we potentially lose you again or something, I want to know your Derby tip, please, and the reason why.
Well, hopefully the Air Mile of what I'm riding. Obviously, his form, his Group 1 form at the back end of last year as a 2-year-old. And although he won a very ordinary race at Windsor, and it was nothing by any means to get excited about watching it. I rode him work at Epsom the other day, and I just got a completely different horse. He looked different. He's come in his coat. I think he's got a good each way chance. I really do. I think he will stay very well. He seems to have a good mind, and he's training very well. And like I said, any ease in the ground would be only a positive, really.
In terms of like the draw and the kind of trip round that you want ideally, and the potential rain that's coming, with all these factors in your mind, how will you be planning to ride the Derby? We won't tell your competitors, hopefully. I don't think they're watching.
It all depends on where you're drawn, Francesca. It really does, and it depends on who you're drawn around, where your competitors are. It's never been ideally to be drawn low, like 1, 2, or 3 is always very difficult when you're down there. It's not impossible. I know Adam Kirby on Adier won from 1, but he got the dream run up the inside, which is very unusual because 9 times out of 10, when you are down on the rail, horses in the straight are normally falling down the camp, and it's not the easiest place to get a run. And most Derby winners normally come from that sweeping run down the outside. So I think, like most jockeys, they always want to be 4th, 5th, 6th, 1, 2 off the rail is the dream spot. But it all depends on how quick they go. With so many runners, and I've seen horses come from last, as in Wings of Eagles and a few others. Poy Moir came from last, so you don't know. There's no perfect scenario, really.
And what's the chat in the weighing room? What's everyone saying? Who's the talking horse? Los Angeles seems to have been backed. What's going on?
It's interesting, really, because I think the first sort of 10 in the betting all have a squeak. Obviously, City of Troy's got it all to prove, and I know Aidan O'Brien did it last year with August Roding, and if he does it again this year, he really is a genius, Obviously, Los Angeles has been backed. He's done nothing wrong. He's 3 for 3. And then there's other horses in the race, Macduff, and there's a few in there who I think William Buick's horse, who was second in the Dante, will love any rain in the ground, any ease. He's got a real big round action, and he'll probably have a great chance, I would say, as well.
Can you line up the likes of Voyage and Table Talk and Cambu? I mean, can we put a line through those kind of horses that we haven't seen much of? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I mean, Voyage is a lovely horse, and he's just won a maiden, and it's a huge ask for him. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but it would be a big surprise if any of those horses you mentioned, because none of them have actually got any Group 1 form. And I think there's quite a few horses in this race who've got Roger Teal's horse was second in a French Guineas. He's by Camelot. He's another horse. He's got a chance, and I think any one of your panelists could all probably pick a different horse. It's very, very, very wide open. I've never seen a Derby as wide open as this for some time.
Okay, so just before you go, the ones that can win, City of Troy, Ancient Wisdom, Ambiente Friendly, stop me if I'm wrong, Dancing Gemini, Bellum Justum?
Which one?
Bellum Justum?
I'd be surprised.
Okay. Macduff?
Would need to take a big step forward, but not impossible.
Okay. We're putting Dear Mile in this group, obviously. And
He'll be in the first four.
okay. And Los Angeles, are you putting him in there?
Oh, listen, he'll probably go off nearly joint favourite on the day. He's 3 from 3. Got a chance.
Okay.
You know, like I said, there's 4 or 5 in there with all equal chances, I think. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. Very exciting.
Okay. I think, yeah, I'm interested that you can have Los Angeles at 4-1, who beat Euphoric by a length last time out, and Euphoric's 40-1. Anyone?
I mean, there's one in the race that I think could be placed at 100-1, and that's Portland.
Really?
And if you watch his run back at Sandown against Macduff and those, he's crying out for a trip. He was even reported on his previous start that the horses just want further. He'll stay very well, and he's got decent bits of form last year. And listen, I don't think the horse should be 100-1 shot, in my opinion, if he runs. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I think he could be. You've seen 150-1 shots finish second in the Derby, and on a few occasions he might just be able to fill that spot.
Okay. Jim, thank you. I don't want to hold you up any longer. That's brilliant to get your thoughts on your ride and who you think can win it and can't win it. Thank you very much. Bad luck for getting beaten, and see you there on Friday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much to Jim. Where did we get to? We pretty much only just discussed the top couple in the market. Ancient Wisdom, the fact that he was trounced in the Dante, I know economics isn't going. I looked at him in the paddock and wasn't blown away by him. I expected to see a real quality animal based on what he did last year and see him. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I was like, just something not quite right. I mean, I know the ground is a big factor for him. Do we put him in as a chance, Ancient Wisdom?
Yeah, I think you have to. His 2-year-old form is so strong. His Autumn Stakes win and the Futurity at Doncaster both came on really soft ground. You don't really get much softer ground than Doncaster back end soft ground. He loved it on both occasions. As Jim said, he's got a knee action that would suggest that's what he wants. We're talking about soft ground now. There's potential for more rain on Thursday. So it's not going to be a quick ground derby at the very least. It's going to be, decent ground or worse. You're right. In your head, you think, how can a horse who was beaten 6 lengths in the Dante win the Derby? But the horse who beat him 6 lengths isn't going to be in the Derby. And if it's not the strongest Derby, and if he's back to his 2-year-old form, he has to have a big chance. But particularly when you look through his 2-year-old form, Francesca, lots of the horses he's going to be meeting on Saturday, he's already beaten. Horses like Ambiente Friendly, he's beaten a lot of these already. So I would give him a major shout with the way the ground's going.
Okay. Ambiente Friendly, I feel like would be a popular winner in some regards.
Not if you're Callum Shepherd.
James,
yeah,
not with Callum Shepherd. Rab Havlin takes over. Do you find that tricky, Charlie, when a jockey gets on a horse that doesn't necessarily know them, but it's the owner's request?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I feel for Callum. He's done absolutely nothing wrong on this horse, and he looked mighty impressive, didn't he, at Lingfield? Yeah, like I say, just it's one of those things, isn't it? The owner has the final decision. He wants a change, and that's the way it is. That's what it can happen, can't it, in this sport? And it's a setback for Callum, but I'm sure he's doing very well this season. I'm sure he'll come back strong. But like I say, yeah, it's a very interesting run of this. It'd be great for James Fanshawe. I did 2 years as assistant trainer with him, and if there's anyone who deserves it, it is him. He's had a couple of quiet years, and he's come back real strong this year, and it's a great story.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all quite like Dancing Gemini, having touched on him. I think Jim gave him a good push as well. Who's Fish Dance, Lee, the owner?
I don't know the guy. I know he's involved. He's clearly done well in business. He was at Epsom last week for the breakfast event. Someone mentioned to me that he has done well in biscuits, and that he's some sort of biscuit magnet. There's clearly money in custard creams. But he's got horses with Joseph O'Brien, hence the link with Dylan McMonagle, who rides a horse. What was interesting was you sort of watch people talk, you try and get body language, and certainly after the horse worked at Epsom last week, it looked as though William Cox, who rode the horse in the workout, was really working hard to persuade Roger Teale, and more so the owner, that the horse was the right sort for the Derby. It just looked like the owner was not that he was reluctant in any way, but that he wanted to be properly convinced, because of course they also have the option to Prix du Jockey Club, which in some ways would be a more obvious one, in the sense he's already won a big race in a French Classic. It's not quite as big a stamina test. But the horse's pedigree screams Derby. He's by a Derby winner, out of a mare who's by a Derby winner. There's the Epsom's all over the horse's pedigree. And it'd be a wonderful feel-good result if Roger Teale could have a Derby winner, because not only is he a former Epsom trainer, but with the best in the world. Yeah, he was training at Epsom for a while before he came to Lambourne, and you don't associate people like Roger Teale with Derby contenders, like Derby winners, and that's no slur on Roger Teale. It's the point we're making earlier on. Back, so it's so hard to get a Derby winner, particularly if you're not buying at the top end of the market and things like the Book One sale. So it'd be a fantastic result, and you certainly couldn't really marry. It has to be a big player as a French Guinea second who's bred for the trip.
Yeah, I remember last year fancying White Birch in the Derby, and Rishi actually put me off because he said, "Oh, I'm actually having a mental blank. He's trained by
John Murphy."
Murphy, yeah. And Rishi was like, "Well, no, you don't look back at the history books and see a trainer like John Murphy next to a Derby winner." And I was like, "Oh, that's a bit harsh." But in a way, you're right, because we often get used to seeing the same kind of names next to the winners of the Derby. I mean, I've been proved right. He's flying this year, White Birch, isn't he? But the Derby obviously wasn't the day for him. But like you say, for Roger Teale, it would be an awesome result for him. Macduff, I've also read, well, as per trainer quotes, Rafe Beckett said he was surprised by how short he is in the market, Macduff, having come second at Sandown. It's a shame, isn't it, that Arabian Crown's not going, because having just watched that race again, he was pretty dominant, pretty impressive. In his absence, Charlie, does Macduff come into calculations?
Well, I think second in the Sandown trial. If the winner was running, what price would he be? Sure. Would he be second favourite? Should be short, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Favourite, I'd always have him.
Exactly.
I'd always have him favourite.
And he was staying on well, wasn't he, in that race?
He watched further, and I think he didn't like the soft ground. Soft ground? Yeah, I think it's soft.
It's got to have an each way chance, surely.
Okay.
And he's bred for the job, isn't he? See the stars. He's got plenty of pedigree in there.
And I think, didn't Adayar get beaten in that Sandown trial and then come out and win?
I think he did. Did he also get beaten in the Lingfield trial too? I think he might have been beaten in two trials on the way to on the way to Epsom. I think he'll definitely stay. And he's one of those horses that you always get horses in the Derby, don't you, that on their first attempt at the mile and a half can suddenly find quite a bit of improvement. And although he has to find that improvement, he might do that.
Okay. Bellum Justin's got an interesting profile, because at the end of his 2-year-old career, he beat Inisherin over a mile at Newmarket. and then comes out and wins the trial at Epsom. That trial, when was the last time that trial produced the winner of the Derby?
I can't recall one.
Any legit? What did he do? No. Where did he win?
Benedict won the Dante. He went by
won
Sandown to the Dante. Yeah,
Sorry. It's not the 8-year-old disturbing this one. It's the cat.
Making me broody.
You're a cat man, aren't you?
I'm a cat man. Yeah, we lost our 2 boys last year, so we're in the market now. Oh, he's gorgeous, Chester.
Oh no, well I can recommend a Burmese highly. He's rather a character, quite loud, likes to announce himself and sit on your face and put his whiskers up your nose mostly. But
Oh, look at him.
there he is. Off you go. Where were we? Yeah,
Bell
the
and Justin.
Derby trial. But as a trainer, Charlie, like, are you there thinking, right, I think I've got a Derby horse on my hands, and are you thinking, well, I'm going to try and find the easiest trial I can find to then.
I guess it all depends on experience, doesn't it? I suppose if the horse has had a good few runs as a 2-year-old, then you probably don't have to get as much experience as a 3-year-old leading into the race. He's loved using Chester, isn't he, in the past, as a prep race. I think it all depends on how much experience you've got, really.
Okay.
Does experience on the track make a big difference, do you think? I mean, because you sometimes sorry, Charlie.
I've always asked Willie Carson that, and he says they'll do it once, but they might not do it twice.
I was literally going to say that. It's the same way that he hears people talk about the Grand National course, and horses will love it the first time, but then just won't do it again. You wonder if going around Epsom once can be a positive and a negative.
Exactly. I think so. I agree with that.
Okay. So I don't sense a huge amount of positive vibes for Bellum Justum. No. Dear
You obviously.
I don't really have him in my calculations.
If Voyage wins, Richard Hannon's going to be unplayable for the next month.
Yes. How is he post last weekend? Post Saturday?
Luckily, I haven't seen it.
Haven't seen him? That was
No.
some result.
It was, wasn't it? Brilliant.
That really was. But that presumably, how would that campaign have come about? Why is it not run in a trial? Why has it only had one run? Like, is it an afterthought? What happened? Why do you run a once raced maiden winner in the Derby?
He obviously had the entry, not a powder dry, did he?
Sorry?
Yeah, well, I know the owner, Judy Wood, who's such an enthusiastic owner, she dreamed of having a Derby runner. She's desperate to have a Derby runner. The horse won one at Newbury, and funny, when Richard was asked about that question that you asked, Jessica, why did he not go on to a trial? His answer was really interesting. He said that it's really to keep the dream alive.
Okay.
And I remember visiting William Haggis last year for an interview in the summer after Goodwood, when Desert Hero had been so impressive in the Gordon Stakes. And at that point, he was umming and ahhing, should we go to the Voltigeur before the Leger or not? And one of his reasons was, well, if you don't go, you definitely keep that dream alive. And I suspect for owners for trainers like Charlie, and just the same way that a lot of Nicky Henderson's horses might not necessarily run in a trial, I'm sure that's partly to keep the dream of Cheltenham alive for the owner.
It's so interesting, though, isn't
I think
it?
Judy.
Like we've talked about Adayar, who got beaten in 2 trials, yet probably the experience and everything that he gained from running in those trials helped him win at Epsom. Who knows? Sorry, Charlie, I interrupted you.
No, I think Julie Wood, the owner, I think she's got a big sort of birthday this year as well. So I think it's a big occasion for her to try and have a big day like this, I suppose.
Okay. Going further down the betting, I'm going to read a few out. If anyone wants to stop me and make a case for any of them, let me know. Diego Velasquez, Dallas Star. I could make a small case for him. He won one of the trials, beating the Euphrates, which I know isn't much, but Illinois as well. Illinois went off favourite for the Lingfield trial. Wasn't beaten a huge distance, and he's 40 to 1. No?
Needs to find a lot of improvement still, though.
Yeah. Okay. Euphoric.
Yeah, definitely. Aidan's indicated that he'll
price.
run. Yeah, I think he's going to have 3 runners, he was saying, and that's probably going to be the third one. And he, as you said, Jay, he wasn't beaten far, was he?
A length.
By Los Angeles.
A length. And they, like you said, they all finished in a bit of a heap in that race. So
Yeah.
I mean, unless the Los Angeles is doing something special at home, like it's hard to get excited by that form.
Yeah.
On bare form. And if you want to have 4-1 about Los Angeles, you might as well have a bit on Euphoric at 40s, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Illinois.
No, I just think because until you know what they're going to run, it's a bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Aidan suggested that Euphoric will be the only other one that joins Los Angeles and City of Troy, but he could change his mind.
Okay. Sadati, God's Window, Hadisher, Portland. Jim's made a case.
Andrew's had a good record in this race with some big prices, hasn't he, recently? Andrew Balding. Andrew Balding's had some big place horses in recent years.
He has.
Yeah, and the owners had 2 place horses at big prices, Ahmed Al Sheikh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Okay. What are the first colours? His first colour is white hat or white hat with a green star?
That's a
Green
question.
Star.
Green star?
Isn't it a green star? Yeah.
Green star.
Okay, so Sadati seemingly currently has the green star.
Yeah.
Okay. God's Window, well beaten in trials. Padishah, fourth in the Wood Ditton, third subsequently in Portland. Jim made a case for. Table Talk. Sorry?
Window. God's Window.
My boys are sticking their thumb up.
To who?
God's Window. Why?
Really?
He got left in the stalls, didn't he? The D stakes.
Yeah.
And
They say you get left in the stalls.
He got left in the stalls by 20 lengths.
But then he was fifth in the Dante. Well held, well beaten.
Yeah. The green star's second colours.
Boys need to make a stronger case.
Yeah.
I think so. Personally, City's run.
Table Talk, Cambu, Mr. Hampstead. No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, that's quite good. We've narrowed it down quite a lot. I think I'm definitely narrowing it down. I like Dancing Gemini, I think. Anyone else?
Be a great story if you got an ITV, wouldn't it, on Saturday? Dancing
really
Gemini
good
wins
story.
the Derby.
Yeah, really good story. Okay, so let's have selections and then let's bring Ed back in. And hopefully some people have submitted their fancies and their reasoning, or maybe some questions as well. Oh, by the way, actually, Lee, what's happened to Capulet, who won the D stakes? Any idea?
They were talking about the Prix du Jockey Club as another option for him, but I don't know if he's been left in the race this weekend or not.
Don't think he has.
No, in that case, suggest there must have been some sort of issue. Unless they're keeping him back for the King over the 7th, maybe at Royal Ascot.
Oh, okay. I just thought it was odd that he wasn't.
Yeah.
Derby. Okay. So nail your colours to the mast. Charlie, who are you going for?
I'm going to go Ancient Wisdom to beat Los Angeles.
Okay. Lee?
I'm going to go Ancient Wisdom to beat Macduff. Although I wouldn't be surprised if City of Troy bounces back, Cheska. Just hedging my bets.
Okay.
But Ancient Wisdom.
Okay.
What about you? Dancing Gemini?
Yeah, I'm going to go Dancing Gemini. Yeah. I'm going to wait till I see them in the paddock as well. And like Charlie says, the last 2 furlongs as they're going down, because they have that long canter down, don't they? And then they walk a bit and then they kind of jog a bit and then they eventually get to the stalls. And actually the draw, I do think, like Jim said, the draw is pretty crucial. I know some have done it from a low draw, but it makes it a whole lot harder. So you'll have to be watching ITV on Saturday for the final selections.
And will you be commenting on City of Troy's height in the paddock?
I don't dare.
No, okay.
I don't dare.
You're going to put heart monitor on him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go around with a stick and kind of go up to all of them and be like, "Yep, this is this height," etc., etc. Ed, who's your pick for the Derby? Have you made one after listening to us whilst doing your ironing? Who have you been most convinced by?
I I didn't write down Jim's tips because I had a handful of iron, and I think those sounded very good. I liked Charlie Hills's arguments, but it seems that ancient wisdom is Lee's too. So I think that the Cypher overdraft is going to go on that. I did actually thought I'd be really smart, and I Googled Derby tip, and it's given me the address of the recycling centre just as it really didn't help. But yeah, I mean, yes, I'm just going to sort of stick around there. I think it was very interesting. This has obviously been recorded. I think that we'll hopefully during the course of the week, or the rest of the week, spread some of those tips out and give them to people. But
did anyone submit a tip and a reason, a selection and a reason?
No, there are 3 questions actually that did appear on the Q&A, which I'm not sure if you can see. So there's an anonymous attendee has asked, is it true that Frankie Dettori is coming out of retirement for Royal Ascot? And I think I have the answer for that, which is no. But I think he is going to Royal Ascot on foot with Racing Brakes. And I think we are sharing a Racing Brakes tent for people who want to go to it. So I don't know whether he's going to show there, but a little plug for that. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. Richard Dobson. Richard, lovely to see you. Richard lives up in Yorkshire, Wakefield. Do you think the racing calendar should be adjusted to allow more time between the trials, for instance, the Dante and the Derby, to allow horses to recover properly? Is that a thing? I mean, is that...
I don't think really.
One thing that might be a possibility, I've referenced this in my Racing Post column on Monday, the Jockey Club are thinking about how they can revitalise the Derby Festival. And one plan that they're looking at from 2026 would be to have the Derby and Oaks both on Saturdays. So if this was 2026, this Saturday would be the Oaks, the following Wednesday would be Coronation Cup Day, and the following Saturday would be Derby Day. So in theory, Derby horses would have an extra week between the Dante and the Derby.
Do you think it'll ever go back to a Wednesday when London stopped?
No. Problem is, the minute Epsom doesn't stop for the Derby, that's their big job. Is they need to try and get real community engagement with the Derby in the way that Liverpool has with the Grand National. So no, I'd be amazed if there's a Wednesday Derby again.
So they're talking of Oaks on a Saturday, Coronation on a Wednesday, and Derby on a Saturday. So 3 days, but spread over.
Modelled on our beloved Flemington. So obviously the Melbourne Cup Carnival goes Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Problem they've got at Epsom is it costs. Epsom is not commercially hugely profitable. So that when they built the new grandstand back in 2009, they actually had a debate about could they justify building a £25 million grandstand at a race that doesn't really make much money. And part of the problem they've got is it costs a lot of money to build the temporary facilities, but they only get 2 days of revenue to recoup the investment. I think they think if they had 1 extra day of racing, but spread it across a week in which they could have other community events, maybe a music event at the racecourse on one of the non-race days, to try and build it. I think they feel at the minute that they have, Epsom has only the Derby meeting, but it's come and gone in terms of prestige. It's come and gone very quickly. So that's an option for 2026. I think as well, the minute the Oaks sort of gets lost, you run the Oaks and straight away everyone's thinking about the Derby. Because at least if you had a week to separate them, the Oaks would have more of a shop window, if you like, and more focus on it.
I like that. There's one more question. Steve Hawkins. Hi, Steve. Thank you for joining us. I guess all 3 of you actually, but which of Aidan O'Brien's will come out, do you think? Come out, not run, or which will run?
Which will run? I guess he's obviously going to run. Well, I would have thought City of Troy is going to run. Then we've got Los Angeles.
To be fair, the question was which will come out. So that was me just trying to.
Which will come out, not run.
Yeah.
I think only Aidan knows that.
Yeah, well, based on what he said, he would run City of Troy, Los Angeles, and Euphoric. So if he follows that through, Portland would come out, so would Illinois, and so would Diego Velasquez.
Thank you. There you go. Actually, why is that? Just because? So it might be a really naive question. Just because they're not good enough, or just because? I mean, why has he got so many in at this late stage that then might not run? Is it just the way that he operates?
I think it is the way he operates, but I suppose being a trainer, you've got to make last minute decisions. You know, the weather can change, different conditions, and he'll have different horses for different conditions with those entries. I would have thought.
Okay, thank you.
And is it a bit of an old wives' tale, or does it tend to be with Aidan, the more runners he's got in there, the less he fancies his main chance?
Huh.
Is that
So they
a
say.
thing or not really?
He only ran City of Troy the 2,000 guineas. That didn't work, though, did it?
True.
Serpentine, wasn't it?
What's that, Charlie?
Was the
Serpentine. What price was he when he won the Derby?
50?
Huge price.
50?
Yeah.
He won like a maiden the week before
I
or
think
something, hadn't he?
for those owners too, they're so desperate. The owners are so desperate to win the Derby, aren't they? I think you'd be far enough sort of
Bullet.
arrows at the board. You're hoping that you might get surprised by a horse like Serpentine or Wings of Eagles. I mean, who would have thought of Wings of Eagles going into that Derby or after it?
Yeah.
Well, all grist for the mill to be found out on Saturday. In answer to your question, Francesca, Marie has tipped for us dancing Gemini. He ran his little heart out in the French 2,000 guineas. Blah blah blah. So good luck, Marie, with that. Guys, thank you very, very much indeed. Lee, thank you very much once again for joining us.
Pleasure.
Charlie, thank you very much again for joining us. See you on the, if not before, much at Nottingham.
Right.
Do you want to just give us a little bit of an update on Racing Breaks Rider?
Yeah, he's come out of his race really well. I was very encouraged what William had to say after his run. Obviously, I'm really pleased. I think that's the way to ride him, just to drop him in and just get him to finish his race off like that. And I think William's very keen to try and ride him again, which is really encouraging.
Yes, I agree with that. So Nottingham, you think, in front of Epsom, you were just saying before we go on. There we go.
Yes.
That means I did one less shirt I had to iron. Cheska, thank you very, very much. Jim, I know you've gone. Thank you very much. But Cheska, thank you very much for corralling this. You always do a good job, and that was fantastic and interesting, and I loved. And Simon Tufnell and your gang at JM Finn, thank you very much for sponsoring us. Ellie, sitting on your sofa, pulling on the dials, thank you very much indeed. Guys, thank you very, very much. You've done a fantastic, entertaining evening. Good luck at Epsom with all your various different